Thank you for choosing Gates. What follows is an overview of the Gates GC96 crimper, including setup, calibration, operation, and maintenance. Please refer to your operator's manual for more detailed descriptions and information. Keep this disc and your operator's manual in a safe place so you can refer to them again in the future. Warnings. Please note that incorrect use of this crimper or incorrect hose assemblies can result in serious injury, death, or property damage. Protect the safety of people using your assemblies. Your measured crimp diameters must be within the tolerance range as listed in the Gates Crimp Data Manual. Use this machine only if you receive hands-on training with this Gates crimper and assemblies. Follow the current Gates operating manual and crimp data for the GC96 crimper. Wear safety glasses. Keep hands clear of moving parts. The crimp button, the retract button, and the foot pedal on the GC96 operate on a dead man control. They only operate as long as you depress the buttons or hold the foot pedal down. The crimper stops immediately if the switch is released. To prevent serious injury, keep away from all moving parts. If bodily contact should occur with a moving part, immediately release the crimp button or foot pedal. Do not operate the crimper with hands, fingers, or any body part in the crimper mouth. Serious injury can occur. Keep additional personnel away from the crimper while operating. The letters GC indicate that this is a global crimper because it can be run from any worldwide power source from 210 to 257 volts AC at 45 to 65 Hertz. This crimper has been designed to operate in an ambient temperature range from 32 to 122 degrees Fahrenheit. After delivery, it is important that the crimper be temperature acclimated in its work facility for 24 hours prior to use. To ensure long-lasting use of the GC96 crimper, it is important that a certified electrician qualify that the supply voltage is within the specified voltage range and will not be exceeded in that region. Setup. Step 1. Unpack the carton and remove the bolts connecting the crimper to the pallet. Use caution as the crimper weighs over 800 pounds and is very top-heavy. Do not lift the crimper by the head. Use the lifting anchors on the crimper base. Using the included nylon slings and an engine hoist or similar piece of equipment, suspend the crimper and remove it from the crate. Locate the crimper's serial number on the rear of the reservoir base and record it and the purchase date in the spaces provided in your operator's manual for future reference. Place the crimper on a stand bolted to the floor or on a secured bench capable of supporting 900 pounds or more. The proper bench height is approximately 32 inches. Position the crimper so that the operator can feed the hose assemblies into the front or the rear of the crimper head. If you are using the stand, bolt the crimper to the stand through the pre-drilled holes using the included 4 6mm Allen head bolts. If you are mounting it to a bench, drill 4 1/2-inch holes aligned with the holes in the crimper and bolt together. See the operator's manual for the correct dimensions and additional warnings. Step 2. Check the sight glass on the front of the reservoir to determine if the crimper has been filled with oil. If not, remove the shipping cap breather assembly located on the top surface of the base behind the crimper head and fill the crimper with 12 gallons or 45 liters of AW46 oil. See the operator's manual for additional notes. Step 3. Install the power cord plug. The crimper is equipped with an inverter which allows the machine to run from any 20 amp, 220 to 250 volt AC outlet. The crimper is also equipped with a NEMA L6-20 power cord plug. Have a qualified electrician install the correct NEMA L6-20 outlet for your power supply. Incorrect electrical connections can cause damage to the unit and an electrical hazard for personnel. Also, incorrect power cord installation will void your equipment warranty. Turn the power switch on. It will take up to 2 minutes for the touchscreen control panel to boot up and show the crimp screen. Once the crimp screen is showing, press the crimp button to check that the pump motor is operating. If the motor does not operate, contact your local Gates supplier. Step 4. Install the foot pedal by plugging it into the lower right side of the control panel. The crimper can be activated from the crimp screen or by using the foot pedal. The foot pedal also has an auto retract feature, which is activated after the head has moved to the specified crimp diameter. The protective metal case surrounding the pedal will avoid accidental activation. Step 5. The control panel can be rotated to a position that is more accessible depending on where the operator is working. Loosen the locking handle located to the left of the control panel and pivot the panel to a comfortable working position. Then retighten the locking handle. Step 6. Lubricate the die shoe grease fittings. Press and hold the top crimp button and cycle the head to the fully closed position or until the grease fittings are exposed. Turn the power switch off. Using a grease gun, grease the front 16 die shoe grease fittings until grease appears between the die and the die cone surface, approximately 1 1/2 pumps. Turn the power switch back on. After the control unit reboots, cycle the crimper 5 times to distribute the grease evenly. Actuate the crimper from the crimp screen by alternating between the top crimp button and the bottom retract button, or actuate the crimper by using the foot pedal. Lubrication should be done whenever the sliding surfaces of the die cone get shiny, or about every 250 crimps. Step 7. Install a die set. Refer to the operator's manual under the section titled Using GC96 and GC32 series die sets for written instructions on installing the desired die set and spacer dies. To install the GC96 600 series dies or the spacer die set, pull a die shoe locking pin out with the die removal tool. This is product number 7482-9181. Take the desired GC96 die segment and slide the die locking pin into the crimper shoe hole with the die brand or part number facing toward the operator. Release the locking pin when the die pin is installed. Use the same procedure on the other 7 die segments. These are GC96-610, -611, -612, -613, -614, and the GC96 spacer die set. To remove the dies, place one hand under the desired segment. Pull the corresponding die shoe locking pin out with the die removal tool and catch the die segment. Set the die segment aside and repeat on the remaining 7 die segments. To install the GC32 standard die sets, first install the GC96 spacer dies in the same way as you installed the 600 series dies. Then, on the touchscreen control panel, press the Options tab, then press the Tools tab, then press the Die Change button. This will position the die shoes to accept the Quick Change tool. Depending on the position of the head may fully open. If this happens, press the Die Change button again, and the shoes will position to allow changing the dies out with the GC32 Quick Change tool. Load the GC32 Quick Change tool with the selected GC32 die set from the storage receptacle. Align the GC32 die segments with the GC96 spacer dies so that the dovetails engage. Slide the Quick Change tool in until it bottoms out on the die shoe surface. The die is now set. Release the Quick Change tool by twisting to the left or counterclockwise until the die segments are disengaged. Now pull the Quick Change tool straight out. To uninstall the GC32 standard die sets, position the head as before by pressing the Options tab, then the Tools tab, then the Die Change button. Slide the Quick Change tool in until it bottoms out on the die shoe surface. Twist the Quick Change tool to the right or clockwise until the die segments are engaged, and then pull the Quick Change tool straight out. This will pull the die segments out of the crimper head. Place the GC32 die segments back into the storage receptacle. Warning: closing the crimper head on the Quick Change tool will damage the Quick Change tool. Step 8. Before crimping a hose assembly, check the calibration. Calibration is the proper relationship between a setting and the crimp diameter. After the initial calibration check, the calibration needs to be checked only if you find the crimp measurements are no longer within the gate's crimping specifications, or if old parts on the crimper have been replaced with new ones, or if the crimper has been heavily used or abused. Calibration should be performed if a large discrepancy, greater than the gate's specified tolerance range of plus or minus 0.010 of an inch, is occurring with any die set. Calibration. For the GC96, there are two possible methods for the user to calibrate the crimper. The first method utilizes the GC32-33 die set with the GC96 spacer die set. Install the GC96 spacer die set as described earlier. Load the GC32-33 die set using the Quick Change tool. Then enter a set point value of 1.15. While holding the threaded end of an 8G Mega Crimp coupling, insert the coupling into the crimper so that the ferrule is roughly 1/8 of an inch from the front edge of the die shoe. Press and hold the top blue crimp button. The crimper will now close down to the position defined by the set point value. Retract the crimper. Remove the coupling and measure the crimp diameter. The measured crimp diameter must be between 0.997 inches and 1.003 inches. That's 1 inch plus or minus 3/1000ths of an inch. If the crimp diameter is within the acceptable range, no adjustment is necessary. If the crimp diameter is outside of the acceptable range, the crimper must be calibrated. To calibrate the crimper, on the touchscreen control panel, press Options, then press Tools, then press Offset, then press Open Keypad. Type in 4296 and press Enter. Use the calibration equation to determine the approximate new setting. The calibration equation is adjusted setting equals factory offset value minus actual COD minus target COD times 2200. Changing the offset value by approximately 2 will change the crimp diameter by 0.001 inches. For example, changing the offset value by approximately 50 will change the crimp diameter by approximately 0.025 inches. Your new offset value will be the factory offset value plus the desired change in the crimp diameter in thousandths times 2. Then calculate the new adjusted setting, type in that value, and then press Enter. Please note, if the Enter key is not pressed, the new offset value will not be loaded. Repeat the calibration steps until the published crimp diameter is achieved. The crimper is now calibrated. The second calibration method utilizes the GC96-610 die set and the GC96 calibration piece. Install the GC96-610 die set using the die removal tool as described earlier. Enter a set point of 8.56. While holding the end of the GC96 calibration piece, insert the piece into the crimper. Press and hold the top blue crimp button. The crimper will close down to the position defined by the set point value. Retract the crimper. Remove the calibration piece and measure the crimp diameter. The crimp diameter must measure 3.92 inches plus or minus 0.003 of an inch. The acceptable range is from 3.917 inches to 3.923 inches. If the crimp diameter is within the acceptable range, no adjustment is necessary. If the crimp diameter is not within the acceptable range, the crimper must be calibrated. Follow the procedure outlined earlier for calculating a new offset value and new adjusted setting value and enter the new numbers. Repeat the calibration steps until the published crimp diameter is achieved. The crimper is now calibrated. Operation. The GC96 display panel operation. After applying power to the GC96, the control panel will load the main working display. This can take up to 2 minutes to load. The control panel is a touch screen, therefore the designated circles on the screen perform as functional buttons. There are 2 main tabs on the touchscreen panel, Crimp and Options, functionally described as follows. The crimp screen, the crimp button. Pressing the crimp button will cause the crimp dies to close. This is a dead man control feature. The retract button. Pressing the retract button will cause the dies to open. This is also a dead man control feature. The retract timer. This slider is a visual indicator for the retract time and can be adjusted between 0.5 to 6 seconds in 0.5 second increments. This is achieved by pressing and sliding the button located at the bottom of the screen, left or right. Note, the GC96 crimper has an automatic retract feature. If the crimper is left unattended for 15 minutes, the automatic retract feature will cause the crimper to fully retract if left in a partial or fully closed position while the crimper is energized. Set point. The ring around the crimp and retract buttons will indicate the machine attitude. Flashing green indicates normal or non-operating good condition. Non-flashing, that is solid green, indicates that a button is pressed. Non-flashing or solid red with the note at the top of the screen, crimp finished, check crimp diameter, indicates the dies are at the set point or the completed crimp position. Non-flashing or solid red with a note at the top of the screen, sensor fault, indicates a sensor problem. Check the potentiometer connection. Set point value. The maximum setting is 20.00. By pressing the numbers on the keypad, the operator can input gate's crimp settings. Once the proper setting is typed in, the set point value will flash until the Enter key is pressed, and then the value will appear solid. Note, if the Enter key is not pressed, the new value isn't loaded and the crimper will crimp to the previous set point. The Options screen. The Options screen allows the operator to press Tools and perform die changing with the GC32 Quick Change tool, and also to perform field calibrations with the Offset button. Die change. Holding this button will automatically select head direction and move the head to a position more suitable for standard GC32 die changes. It may be necessary to press the button twice to get it into the die change position. Offset allows the operator to input a value of 0 to 500 to perform a field calibration on the GC96 crimper. When the offset button is pressed, a keypad is revealed and a value may be input and entered and will cause the crimp OD to be larger or smaller for a given setting. See the calibration section in the operator's manual for further details. Cal allows access to factory calibration and is not necessary for normal operation of the GC96 crimper. It is only for use by qualified gates maintenance engineers. Hose preparation. 1. Cut the hose end square and clean any debris from the tube interior. 2. Bend the grounding wire, if present, inside of the hose, extending the wire approximately 1/2 inch. 3. Measure the outer diameter of the hose with a pie tape. 4. Based on the hose outer diameter, select the proper ferrule. Mark a line on the hose cover at the distance from the end of the hose that equals the insertion depth. This becomes a visual check to determine if the hose is fully bottomed into the fitting. 5. Slide the ferrule over the stem collar. If the ferrule has flats, be sure they line up with the flats on the hose collar. 6. Lubrication should be used only if necessary. 7. Insert the stem into the hose squarely without causing damage to the tube. Operating instructions. 1. Turn the power switch on. 2. Using the GC96 crimp data sheets, select the correct die set for the hose and coupling being crimped. 3. Load the correct die set as described earlier. 4. Select the correct setting. Refer to the GC96 crimp data sheets. If crimping large diameter hose with control panel settings based on hose diameter, measure the outside diameter of the hose with a pie tape. Select the approximate control panel setting for the specific hose and coupling combinations. Enter this setting into the control panel. The crimp must meet specified crimp diameter. All settings are approximate. Machine tolerances exist for each crimper, die set, and supporting piece of equipment, which will affect your actual crimp setting. Always check the crimp diameter to ensure that it is within published limits. 5. Set retract time if necessary. The retract time can be adjusted to control the final die shoe position after crimping. Place an uncrimped coupling in front of the crimper mouth. Adjust the retract time using the slider on the crimp screen. Press and hold the retract button until the mouth clears the coupling. 6. Insert the assembly into the crimper head. Insert straight assemblies through either the front or the back of the crimper head. If a bent tube is being crimped, it must be crimped by loading the assembly from the rear of the crimper. Jog the crimp dies until they just contact the ferrule. Be sure the ferrule and crimp dies are lined up properly to achieve proper crimp length. 7. Begin the crimp. Press and hold the top crimp button or foot pedal. When crimping a two-piece coupling, as soon as the die fingers contact the ferrule, pull slightly on the hose assembly. That ensures the ferrule locking collar is properly located over the stem locking groove. The crimper will close to the position selected for the set point value. Once it reaches that position, the crimper stops automatically. Press and hold the retract button until the assembly can be removed. The crimp is now complete. 8. Remove the hose assembly. 9. Unload the die set. Measuring and adjusting the crimp diameters. 1. Measure the crimp diameter. Measure halfway between ridges. To be sure the crimp diameter is being properly measured, mark a crimp flat. Beginning with that flat, count 4 flats to get the diameter. Be sure the caliper fingers do not touch the ridges or part number stamps. Measure halfway between the ends of the crimped portion of the ferrule. 2. Check crimp diameter. The measured crimp diameter must be within plus or minus 10 thousandths of the published crimp diameter. If the measured crimp diameter is too large, recrimp to the proper crimp diameter. If it is too small, then it must be discarded. 3. If necessary, adjust the crimp diameter. If the crimp diameter is not within the specified crimp tolerance, an adjustment to the crimp set point value needs to be made. To obtain a smaller crimp diameter, change the set point value to a smaller number. To get a larger crimp diameter, change the set point value to a larger number. Changing the set point value by approximately 0.02 will change the crimp diameter by approximately 1/1000th of an inch. After the correct crimp diameter is achieved, record this new setting in your crimp data manual for future reference. Maintenance. The GC96 crimper requires minimal maintenance. However, the following practices are recommended to ensure maximum reliability and service. Lubrication. Lubricate the sliding surfaces of the die cones whenever they become shiny, or approximately every 250 crimp cycles. Use Lubrimatic Moly EP grease or equivalent. Press the crimp button to close the crimper mouth and expose the grease fittings. Turn the power switch off. Using a grease gun, grease through the front 16 die shoe grease fittings until grease appears on the die cone surfaces. Operate the crimper through a full crimp and retract cycle 5 times to distribute the grease evenly. Check the oil level. Check the hydraulic oil level in the pump reservoir after every 10 hours of use. Hydraulic oil should be visible in the sight glass. To check the oil level, push the crimp button to fully close the crimp head. If the oil level drops below the sight glass, oil is needed. Add